Welcome back, demigods, monsters, and gods alike, to the Olympus Report. What an episode. Here's everything you may have missed in Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Episode 7, we find out the truth. Sort of. Where to start? This episode was action-packed, emotional, and simply extraordinary. Once again, the plot from the book is followed, but certain things within that main plot line were changed, and in my opinion, for the better. Let's start at the beginning. Percy walks into Krusty's waterbed palace, and instantly Percy knows who Crusty is and that the shop is a trap. I've seen some complaints about this aspect with the show, and I can agree. One of the funnest parts of the book was trying to figure out what was going to happen along with Percy, and in the show they just instantly always know. Medusa, Echidna, the Lotus Hotel, and now Crusty. But this change can also be seen as good, as it really enhances how smart our trio is and really gives them agency within the quest. But once we get to season 2, I would like to see it toned back just a little bit. Maybe they only know half the traps they're about to walk into. But besides this, Crusty was absolutely perfect. This guy was creepy and looks like he stretches people for a living. Just like in the book, our trio tricks Crusty into his own trap. Now, unlike in the book, the entrance to the underworld is in Krusty's, and the DOA recording studio is completely skipped over. Now, if I had to pick between DOA and Krusty's, I think keeping Krusty's was the right choice. And this change definitely saved on time. Before entering the underworld, Annabeth gives Grover a stress ball, and this change was so smart. Because like in the book, where did Annabeth just get a rubber ball? So smart of Rick to add this. Before entering, Percy splits up the pearls so they're not all in one place. A good idea, in theory. Annabeth then says this.
Let's go get your mom.
This shows just how much Annabeth has changed and how far her character has come. This is now a quest to save her friend's mom and retrieve the bowl second. True friendships have formed here. We then get our first flashback, which are interwoven with the episode, showcasing the parallels between the past and the present. And once again, really showing us just how hard Percy's life has been and how hard Sally has tried to protect him. Doing what she thought was best, even if Percy didn't know it. The bond between mother and son is so moving, and their hardship absolutely breaks your heart. Our trio then finally enters the underworld. And oh my Hades, it is terrifying and breathtaking. There's different areas, some rocky, sandy, ashy, and each one carries the feel of death. I really love that they didn't go with the typical lava fire interpretation of hell, because as established in the books, the underworld is not hell. Hades' palace is upside down, and I love this interpretation of the underworld living on the bottom of the world of the living, like two halves of a coin. We then get to see Charon, and his suit from the books is missing, but he's definitely way more creepy. Another aspect of him that's changed is he's not the greedy person he was in the book. And this change makes sense, as in the book this was played for laughs, and this episode is definitely not funny. So I feel it really wouldn't have fit in the episode, so I'm glad that they omitted it. So instead of taking Percy's bribe, he calls Cerberus. And oh boy, is he terrifying. We get an epic chase where Grover is eaten. Well, we think he is. Percy is almost eaten as well, but thanks to Annabeth's quick thinking, she manages to pet the dog behind the ear and calm him down, ultimately putting him to sleep. Grover climbs out of one of the dog's mouths and is covered in slobber. And I think we get one of the best Grover lines.
You are a bad dog.
Arian, you are by far my favorite Grover. Our heroes need to reach the gate of Hades, but it's on top of a cliff. So Grover flies Percy up, but before he can go back for Annabeth, she slips, and Cerberus wakes up. Percy looks down hopeless, but once again, Annabeth's brilliance saves the day. She throws the red ball they brought up to Percy, and Percy uses it to get Cerberus's attention. Cerberus jumps up, carrying Annabeth with him, but she doesn't make it fully. She's holding onto the edge of the cliff for dear life. A scene very reminiscent of the cliffhanger ending to The Mark of Athena, where Annabeth is holding on for dear life to another ledge. I mean, seriously, this moment right here where Annabeth grabs Percy's hand and she's just holding on, it literally looks like it jumped off the page of The Mark of Athena. However, here Percy and Grover are able to safely pull her up. She throws the ball to distract Cerberus. We then find out that Grover has lost his pearl, and our heroes now only have 3, just like in the book. You may wonder, why even bother with 4 pearls in the first place? Well, we'll get to that a little bit later on. This change made perfect sense, and I take back everything I said last week. My bad. We then hop back into the flashback, and we come to understand just how lost Percy has felt his whole life, always being told that there's something wrong with him by everyone. Everyone except Sally, who has constantly fought for him no matter what. Our heroes then end up in Asphodel, which is a bit different than the books. In the book, Percy described it more as a crowded airport. Here it's a bit more isolated and definitely more creepy. A really interesting interpretation. Annabeth says people who have regrets end up here, and this isn't quite how it was in the book. But Annabeth ends up getting stuck, and it is heavily hinted at that she has a regret, which I believe is her relationship with her father. Perhaps after seeing how much Percy cares about his mom, she's rethought her relationship with her family. A really nice touch. Percy and Grover leave Annabeth behind. I feel Percy only left her behind because he knows she could escape, and she does just that. Now, this is again different in the book. In the book, all 3 of them went to Hades, but since Grover has been sidelined the past 2 episodes, I kind of like that now Percy and Grover get a chance to go on their own adventure. Then Grover starts to get pulled towards a giant pit by his flying shoes, the pit of Tartarus. And the only thing holding him from taking the plunge is Percy. It just seems that Percy's always stopping people from falling into Tartarus. A second Mark of Athena Easter egg? I'll take it. Thankfully, the shoes come loose. But then, Percy and Grover discover the Master Bolt in the bag from Ares. Something that happened later in the book, but I like that they added it earlier here. They could just leave. They have the bolt, but we see how much Sally means to Percy. And Zeus is gonna have to wait because Sally Jackson comes first. We're then finally introduced to the god of the underworld, Hades. And unlike Ares and even Hermes, he is absolutely nothing like his book counterpart. In the book, Percy described Hades as the first god that actually felt like a god. But I really like this interpretation of Hades. I think it really works for his character. His nonchalant attitude just really feels like Hades to me. Hades is constantly misrepresented in media, and I like that they kind of just made him a normal guy. Then the plot is revealed. Kinda. Hades doesn't want the bolt, and he doesn't want war. In fact, he's not jealous of his brothers at all. He wants his Helm of Darkness back, which was also stolen from him. And Hades thinks Percy took it. So if Percy returns the helm to Hades, he will return Percy's mom. But Percy doesn't have it. And then Percy figures out who has the biggest grudge of all, Kronos. Finally realizing who's been talking to him in his dreams. It wasn't Hades, it was Kronos. This whole plot was his doing, and even Hades seems scared by this possibility. Percy then fails to save what matters most. He leaves his mom in the underworld, and we get a great callback to episode 1 when Percy tells her to hold fast.
Hold fast, Mom. Hold fast.
Percy is gonna go get the helm and he'll be back to save her. Percy and Grover then escape the underworld. We then get our final flashback and the most emotional one. Sally calls on Poseidon for guidance and he shows up, showing just how much he truly cares for Sally and Percy. This Poseidon never would have overlooked saving Sally from the underworld. This Poseidon would have given Percy 4 pearls. And so this change was absolutely brilliant. In fact, it's these changes and added scenes that I love the most about this show. This show took side characters like Poseidon and Sally and made them a staple of the show, giving them meaning and so much more depth to their characters. These characters have new meaning and new purpose, and I love it. It's adding so much more to the story. Another little touch that I like to this scene is that when Poseidon shows up, it starts raining. Calling back to the moment in the first episode where Sally was sitting out in the rain, showing that she did indeed do this to feel closer to Poseidon. Sally confides in Poseidon that she doesn't want Percy to turn out like the gods. She wants him to be good, and Poseidon agrees, even though it will be hard. Sally needs to stay strong, and when Percy is ready to accept him and his world, Poseidon will be there for him. And this voiceover carries over into the next scene, where Percy and Grover meet back up with Annabeth and get ready to face Ares, with Poseidon right beside Percy. And then the episode ends. I'm super bummed that we didn't get to see the Ares fight, but it makes sense that they're going to save that for the final episode of the show. This episode was so well told. It had me on the edge of my seat and had me in tears. A great lead up until the final episode. Honestly, a 10 out of 10. I wouldn't change anything about it. What did you Half-Bloods think about it? Let me know down in the comments below. But before I go, I have a reminder. There's only 1 week left to enter my giveaway for a signed copy of the Chalice of the Gods. So if you would like to enter, head on over there before it's too late. But until next week, I'm signing off. So please, Half-Bloods, always remember to stay safe.